What's up, LinkedIn/YouTube? Another video. This time I'm outside. Get a change of scenery, if you will. So for this video, I'm going to go ahead and discuss the importance of agreeableness, being agreeable, and being able to leverage that towards your advantage. Okay, so this is a new skill I'm still learning every day, because I'm not really an agreeable person, because I'm a lion. I'm not fucking agreeable. I hate being agreeable, but nonetheless it's still useful in being able to get what you want. So I'm gonna make this fairly brief, but I'm pretty sure most people understand this, but I'm gonna make it anyways. Not the point. So with agreeableness, you need to be able to do things that are contradictory and not attract attention to yourself in that respect. An example is church. Say for Unitarianism, I don't necessarily agree with all the doctrines, and I don't necessarily agree with all the things they say, but that doesn't really matter to me. I don't really go there for these doctrines per se, so I don't really say anything about it. Another example is with my geopolitics professor. As I stated in an earlier video, I personally hate him and he hates me, but he doesn't know that. He doesn't really know it. It's unknowable, and I still go to his class regardless, because I'm going to get an A in his class because I need an A. Okay, so that doesn't matter. It just matters that you understand the situation, and you understand what is implicitly necessary for the situation when you're in the situation. Okay, so this one is kind of, like I said, is like going to the gym. No matter what, it doesn't matter if you're tired, it doesn't matter if you're exhausted, it doesn't matter if you fail. You just go to the gym and you do it again and you reset. Like for the past 3 days before that, I was struggling to go to the gym and get motivated, which was pissing me the freak off big time. I was getting real pissed off. Still am. Nonetheless, though, there never really is going to come a moment when you're always going to be motivated to do something. Even with ADD, whether I like it or not, despite me sucking at boring shit, it's still got to get done. So that's what agreeableness has to do with people. Some people are so boring that they don't know it. But nonetheless, with ADD, I don't let them know it. I pretend. It's a pretending. Agreeableness is courteousness and sincerity, which I'm not always the most consistent with, but it's implicitly useful within that respect in being able to get things done. Okay, so there are moments when there are good moments where it's good to be a lion and be hungry and destroy the status quo. There are good moments for that, and there are other moments where you just need to shut up, shut your mouth. You don't need to say you really need to say your ideologies and all these other things. No, you don't. You don't really need to say any of that stuff. So, well, I'm just going to go ahead and use a comparison example. I don't really like using comparison examples, but if we take the example of women in comparison to men and what our latent strengths and weaknesses are, there's one noticeable trend. Women are very agreeable. At least they don't make as much noise. And this isn't a gender thing. This is an observation that I find. They have a tendency not to ask as many questions because agreeableness is useful. It's useful in getting what you want. And it's useful in controlling people in some respect, or persuading them. By being agreeable, you have control because you understand the situation, and you understand that this dragon right here is another dragon, which requires a different circumstance and a different response. Every dragon requires a different response. An example is at church. In frankness, not everyone at my church is the most interesting person in the world. Is it their fault? It's not. It's my own fault because of ADD. Even then, though, I still attend to these conversations in hope of learning something gaining an experience, gaining something that can make me more successful than I already am. I wouldn't say I'm successful, but that isn't the point. And some people, though, they will ramble about themselves all day, and you need to make sure that you sound sincere, you don't sound like a jerk, and you're reflective. I can do this on a conscious basis, but if you're neurotypical, this should be significantly easier for you. And then obviously there are other people where it's more amicable and less necessary to be non-agreeable. So you understand the dynamisms between the two relationships, between one another, and their requirements. And then ultimately, that's why being agreeable is useful, because at some point in your life, you're going to have a petty professor, you're going to have a petty person or a situation in which you have no control over. I had no control over me messing up on my bill. It was my own fault. I had no control over forcing Boeing to do what I wanted them to do. I have no control over that. I have no real control over my professor. I can charm that person and maybe making them more lenient to doing what I want them to do. This is which is another role of leadership. You need to be able to get people to do what you want them to do. But for that to happen, you need to have a buy-in. They need to be comfortable, not threatened, very amicable, very agreeable, very charming, I suppose. Be charming when you need to be charming. It's a very useful skill. And like with my professor, if I was just being a social idiot, then he's gonna fail me because he's gonna hate me if I let him know my own internal dialogue. You don't want that. And obviously that's a deficit of ADHD, is lack of filter. It's more prevalent in other people than others, obviously. So, and especially if you're with friends or in relationships, there's certain things about them you don't want them to know. There's a reason. This is what I always say. There's a reason why you never really tell the truth. You tell half truths. You tell quarter truths to placate them. You don't tell them everything, and you never want to do that in relationships, because otherwise they will resent you. Most people, they don't really want the truth. They want a quarter of the truth. Half truths are better than full truths in that respect, and that doesn't make your character flawed or damaging. You just say what you need, what needs to be done within the situation, and that's the dynamism of agreeableness. Know when to be agreeable and know when to be a lion. A lion that is always a lion in every situation will cut his feet. And then that's what Machiavelli says in The Prince. You must be both a lion and a fox. A lion knows when to destroy its competition and knows when to kill, and then the fox is cunning when it needs to be cunning, and it knows when to avoid traps and how to avoid the traps. Not saying that I'm a fox or I've even mastered it. I'm not even close to that. But if you can apply these conceptions, these analogies of agreeableness, then you will go very far. Thank you, LinkedIn and YouTube.